And this is regardless of where you sit on the situation. If you think, hey, the Bulls should have started trying to tank at the start of the season, okay, that's a completely separate thought. And I think people are conflating the two, right? And because people are just being loud with complaints, they're mixing the two different arguments. If you wanted to say, hey, the Bulls should have identified this earlier and they should have tanked earlier if they wanted to tank this season, so they could have had one of the best chances at a top 4 seed or top 4 pick in the draft. Okay, but that is a different conversation than being in reality, right? And that's where I think sometimes, and this is what I said about when you have any conversation about the Bulls and you say, hey, well, that wasn't a bad move. And they're like, none of the moves were good. The Bulls haven't won a playoff series in 10 years. And it's like, and you guys know who says the stuff like that. It's like, okay, yeah, they haven't. But that doesn't mean that every decision has been terrible from that point. Just like even if we had won a playoff series, it doesn't all of a sudden make every decision a good decision either, right? Like, it's a more complex conversation that needs to be had in there. But with that said, if you think that, hey, the Bulls should have decided to tank at the start of the season, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. All right, listen. Okay, while I don't agree with that, I understand that basis. But that does not conflate all of a sudden into saying now that it's somehow a failed tank by the Chicago Bulls because they aren't going to maximize their chances to get a top 4 pick. Like, that was never the goal. If you looked at what the Bulls did by the trade deadline, the fact they already were over 20 wins, and you thought that the Bulls seriously had a chance to have one of the worst 4 records in the league, then you only owe that to your own unrealistic expectations. That's what failed you, not the Chicago Bulls. If you really thought that was going to be the case, your mind failed you. The Bulls didn't fail in that case, because the decision that they made was the decision that they made then. They were never going to bottom out and be a bottom 4 team at the point in time where they started tanking. Now, what I like to talk about in the reality of this, let's keep in mind, the Bulls are on pace for either the 13th or 14th best or worst records in the league, or best odds in the lottery. Now they sit at 9th. So, they wanted to increase their chances to get a better pick. And what I talked about even then is that the Bulls probably identified targets that would have been between 7 and 10 and said, listen, we can get one of these guys here. That's that jump start that we need, right? Not saying that there isn't some hope that they can get in the top 4 and things like that. I just think that there's a few things being conflated in this conversation. Now, like I said, the Bulls are 4-15 since the start of February. That is one of the worst records in the league. So, like I get it. The 4 wins have all come, 3 of the wins have come in the last 6 games. I get that. I understand what you're looking at there. But when you look at it in reality, the Bulls lost 11 games in a row. They went a whole month without winning basketball. And they only moved up one spot